text is so thrilling you couldn't wait to get to chapter 9, could you? Or I'm such a great video presentator, teacher, talker. Probably neither one. Sorry you're suffering through this. Trust me, my presentations are much more lively in person. But on the other hand, you don't need to sit and listen to a 50-minute video. Um, I get it to you as quickly as I can, as succinct as I can, and covering all the bases. So now let's talk about the body of the speech. You're going to have to organize the body of the speech. And I mentioned earlier that you always write the body first. There's a good reason for that. You can't introduce what you don't know. It took me a long time to figure out and many battles with writer's block when I was trying to write something. And how do I start? How do I start? How do I start? So I'm making it a point numerous times to tell you, write the body first. So why is it important to write the body first? Well, the body has the information you want us to get. And so if you write the body first, you figure out what you want to tell us. Your main points. Yeah, I've had students come up and try to have 7 main points and 3 sub-points on each one. You got a 3 to 5 minute speech window, 7 to 10 minutes, you don't have time for all those main points. Sometimes picking the main points is difficult. Sometimes it's hard to say, well, this is important and that's not. You have to narrow it down and customize it for your audience. And what's the main points you want to get us? Now you can teach this, or you can make your presentation in a couple of different fashions. And one of them is chronological order. And I went to the University of Southern Mississippi for my PhD, and I could tell you the history of University of Southern Miss from 1918 to 2018, or whatever year that was. It was 100 years old when I was there. So it's 1915 to 2015. This happened, that happened, that happened, that happened in date sequence. I could go backwards in chronological order too, starting today and work backwards. You could do it spatially. If you were giving somebody directions from Countries on Broadway to Countries on Mercury Drive, you start referencing the spatial stuff around it. Go south on Broadway, turn left on 13th, or turn east on 13th, and how it is in reference to one or the other. You can also do causal, C-A-U-S-A-L. Many times students call it casual. That's not casual, it's causal. The thing you have to make sure you do is you have to make sure there is a cause. Vern went walking down the street and the car backfired and he had a heart attack. Did the backfiring in the car cause Vern to have a heart attack? No. Vern quit running all the time. He quit eating right. He let himself go. And he got fat and his arteries got clogged. It just so happened the backfiring in the car was the same time as he killed up with a heart attack. So if you're going to have a causal, cause and effect, it has to be connected. Now, you can use any one of those formats, whichever one you desire, and balance your time. Let's say you have 2 main points. You can have 50% of your time on one main point and 50 on the other. If you have 3 main points, you could have 50% on one time, 30% on the other main point, and 20% on the third main point. Or you could do 40, 40, 20. Sometimes some main point is more important than another main point. So you have to spend more time on it. Maybe your first main point's got 2 sub-points. So maybe it would be 50, 30, 20, or 60, 20, 20. But when you're designing your outline and organizing your body, you have to think about that. You have to think about how much time is it going to take me to get this point across. If it's going to take 10 minutes, that's too much time. You don't have that kind of time. So where can you cut it back? How can you narrow it down? It's up to you. It's your speech. But try to make it a speech that you would enjoy listening to as well. And that's always important. Now, we have to have transitions in a public speaking. And if you look on your rubric, there's a grade for transitions. Transition basically allows the listener to know where you're at. You could start with, good afternoon, everybody. I want to talk to you about squirrel fishing. How many of you like sports? Something like that. But the first thing you're going to talk about may be history. So first, let's talk about. Second, let's talk about equipment. Finally, let's talk about the rules. And in conclusion, what we talked about today was, those are transitions. They tell you what's going on. Internal summaries, you could help us to understand what you talked about, especially if it's technical or complicated. So you could have an internal preview or an internal summary. Internal preview, you're going to have one in the introduction. You're going to preview what you're going to talk about. You can tell us the title, your thesis statement, and tell us the main points. So you could do that, or let's say we're going to talk about squirrel fishing, history. Your first main point might go something like, first, let's talk about the history. To begin with, let me tell you right now, the history is convoluted. Nobody really knows where it got started or where it came from. Internal preview. Or I could say the history is pretty convoluted. Some people say it was started in Cambridge. Other people say it was started somewhere else. All they know is a bunch of PhDs didn't have anything better to do, found a way to entertain themselves. So before I talk about the rules or the equipment, let's just back up here a second and understand that the origin of squirrel fishing is convoluted. Internal summary. Next, let's talk about the equipment. The equipment you need is something most people have around somewhere. You need a fishing line or a small string. You need a timer. You need a horizontal line to drop it over. You can do it off a balcony, off a tree limb, any one of those things. So the equipment that you need is pretty common. Most everybody has a timer on their phone. Finally, let's talk about the rules. The rules are something, they're the most flexible thing in the game because you make them up as you go. If you want to do total time of the squirrel in the air, you can do total time of all the squirrels. If you want to do the one that had the squirrel in the air the longest, you can do that. So internal previews and internal summaries tell us what you're going to talk about. Yes, squirrel fishing is real. Yes, you can look it up on the internet. And no, you can't use it for a topic. Signpost. Signposts let us follow you. It's the first thing we're going to talk about is the history. Many people say it came from one of two places. So you have to have those in your speeches because I have to grade you on those in your speeches. Now those are 5 points each, and just to make you feel a little bit better, when I grade your first speech, I'm extremely lenient because we haven't covered all this stuff in depth. When I grade your second speech, I'm not quite as lenient, but I know you're growing, and that's the important thing. I have had some peers that like to crucify students because they didn't have a transition, so they got 10 points off. No. It ain't going to happen, not when I'm grading you. When I'm grading you, I'm understanding that you're growing. And I don't compare you to the video I just watched or the student I just watched. I compare you to yourself. How did you grow? And then I grade you on that. And your final speech, I got to be a pain on that one. I'm sorry. I'm a stickler for, did you create credibility? Did you introduce yourself? Did you have something that got our attention? Did you cite sources? It's the same grade sheet. It's just that I grade a little more lenient the first one. Actually, I'm going to grade it twice. I will have a score on the left side that's your score. Let's say transitions. I might give you a 4 out of 5. But on the right side of transitions, I might have a 2, which tells you need to work on that. Okay? So that's chapter 9. We're moving right along. We got one more video to do this week. It's chapter 10. And I will see you in chapter 10. Once again, any questions, feel free to email me. Let me know. If I can make this better, let me know. If you don't like my dumb jokes, let me know. Have a good day. Believe in yourself. I do.